We are now on activity 1.07 in Excel Chapter 1, project number 1A. And this is constructing a formula and using the if function. The whole point of Excel is to make it easy to do arithmetic. And so we're going to do some arithmetic here. It's obvious that in row 8 I want the total for January, February, and March. We're going to do each one of them a different way. First of all, anytime you want to put a formula in a cell, you have to begin it with an equal sign. And then you simply do the expression that you want using plus, minus, the asterisk for multiplication, slash for division, and use the cells that you want. So I want to add B3. It's not case sensitive. I can do a lowercase b. Whoops, B4. Plus B5, plus B6, plus B7. And you notice that the formula also appears up here on the formula bar. And each term is a different color, and there's a box that corresponds to that color, so you can see which term is referring to which cell real easily. And hit the enter key, and it'll add those numbers up for us. Now we're going to go to the bottom of column B and do the same thing, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. First of all, start with an equal sign. Now we're going to point at the items we want and see how it puts the cell reference there for you, and then a plus sign. We have to type our cells, and then point at what we want to add again, and then plus again, and then point at the third item, and then plus again, and then point at the fourth item and hit enter. That's another way. The formula looks the same. It's just that we got the formula by clicking on cells rather than typing in the cell references by hand. And the third way to do it is to use one of the tools on the Home tab way over here in the editing group. I'm not sure why this is in the editing group, but there's a box here called AutoSum. If you click on the down arrow and you choose Sum, what it will do is, if you're at the bottom of a column of numbers, it will assume that you want to add all of the numbers in that column. And it will list the numbers here in the form of what Excel calls a range. A range is just a group of adjacent cells, and ranges are indicated by giving the top left corner of the range, which in this case is D4, and the bottom right corner of the range, which in this case is D7, and the colon means all of the cells in between. So this is another way. Actually, this is probably the preferred way to add up a column of numbers, especially if the column of numbers is long. You don't want to type in 10 or 20 or 30 terms to add up a column of numbers. And all three of those produce the same results. They give us the sum of a column of numbers. Okay, and that takes us to the end of activity 1.07. And now we're going to move on to activity 1.08, copying a formula by using the fill handle. And we want to go to cell E3 right here, and we want to put the word total up there. We're going to do totals by category now, in addition to totals by month. And what we're going to do is click on E4, which is where we are right now, and hold down the Alt key and press equals. And that's a keyboard shortcut for doing the sum function. And go ahead and hit the enter key. By the way, when you do the sum function, it's a good idea to check and just make sure that this dancing line here is actually around the numbers that you want to add, because sometimes it may not be. So we're going to hit the enter key here, and then we're going to go back up and we're going to click on this cell, and we're going to do some copying this time. Now I'm going to take this formula here, and I'm going to get the fill handle, and I'm going to drag it all the way down through the rest of these rows here. And turns out that if you copy formula that says sum of B4 to D4, if you copy it down one row, Excel is smart enough to realize that you want to copy, or you want to add the same numbers on the next row. So it changes the 4s to 5s, and it changes the 5s to 6s, and the 6s to 7s, and the 7s to 8s. Okay, so formula, and you can always double click on the formula too to find out what the terms are. And if you want to go in and edit the formula, I could go in and edit the formula now as well, but I'm not going to. Hit escape, to turn off editing. And we're now on activity 1.08, item number 6. We want to go to cell F3 and we want to type the word trend and hit enter, and then we're going to save our workbook. And now we're moving on to activity 1.09, which is going to involve formatting cells, and we're going to do some merging, and we're going to work with some cell styles. Okay, so we want to select the range A1 to F1, and you select stuff with the fat white plus sign. So I want to select all of that. And I want to go to the Merge and Center button on the Home tab. Most of the formatting stuff is on the Home tab here. And I want to go to the Alignment group, and I want to choose Merge and Center. And that takes those 6 cells and converts them into one cell, and it centers the text in it. And the nice thing about that is if you change the widths of your columns later on, which we will probably do, it will automatically keep that text centered over those 6 columns. Okay, now we want to change the way this looks, and we've got a bunch of built-in styles here. Again, we're on the Home tab in the Styles group, and there is a built-in style called Title. Click on Title, and that automatically changes the font size, the color, the font name, and the font style, and it does several things for us all at once. And we're going to go to row 2 here. And I missed a step a little bit earlier. We also need to merge and center this one over columns A through F. So let's do another merge and center here. And then when we've got that selected, we're going to do a cell style. And the style that we're going to choose for this one is going to be heading 1. And that automatically puts a blue line underneath the text as well. And now we want to select from B3 to F3. That would be our column headings here. And we're going to make those heading 4. So these built-in styles make it pretty easy to format your spreadsheet. And then we're going to save our workbook, and that's the end of activity 1.09. Now we're on to activity 1.10. And we want to select from B4 over and down to E4. Over to E4. And then we want to select the range B8 to E8, and you do a non-adjacent selection here the same way you do in other Windows applications. After you make your first selection here, you hold the Control key down and then drag the mouse over your second selection. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the Home tab. We're going to go to the Number group, and in the Number group we want the Accounting Format button, which is this one, and click on it. And it'll change the format of the numbers we have selected so that they have a $, a comma if they're larger than 1,000, and 2 decimal places. Now, we don't want $ on these numbers in here, but we do want 2 decimal places, and there's a couple numbers here that do not have 2 decimal places, and we also want some commas in here. So we're going to select all of these. This is the range B5 through E7, B5 colon E7. And I want these to have a comma. The comma button up here will give you a comma for numbers that are 1,000 or larger, and it'll also give you 2 decimal places. So now all the numbers look good. And now we're going to go back and select B8 through E8, our totals down here. And we're going to go to our cell styles again, and there's a nice little total style for us that'll make those numbers bold, and it'll also put a single line above and a double line below. And the last thing we're going to do here is we're going to change the theme. We're going to go to Page Layout tab, and we've got themes here, and they all have names. They're in alphabetical order except for the default one up here, which is Office. and we're going to choose the composite theme, which is this one right here. And what that does is it changes all of your predefined colors. So whereas we had blue up here, now we've got a gray, we had a blue line, we've got green lines. If I go back to my home tab now and I click on these styles, you see the styles have changed. So they vary, those colors vary depending on what you've chosen for a theme over here on the page layout tab. Okay, let's save that, and now let's go on. And actually that's probably a good place to stop. We're about 10 minutes into our video now, so we'll just stop it there and we'll continue with 1.11 on the next video.